Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of the podcast known as The Life I Am Lovin'. That deep bark is still our little lady Scarlett. I am Vincent. We are your hosts. I don't know if everyone else's job is this way. I assume it's this way, but, it fluctuates. Some days are busier than others. My job tends to kind of fluctuate every couple months. So every so often it will get busier, and then, of course, you have the holiday season where things tend to slow down a bit. And so we are in the process of ramping back up, getting busier. Past couple weeks have been pretty gnarly, huh, Scarlett? Yes, exactly. And that has really affected me. I'm gonna be honest with you, boys and gals. My mood definitely affects the way I talk. And so when it's busy and I'm a little bit stressed, my voice will change, of course. And so since I've been talking a lot today, might be a teeny bit raspy. Since it has been busier at work, I've been working longer hours. Recording the episodes has been happening a little bit later. And this episode in particular, I do feel bad because the person that this episode is about, I was actually supposed to help him and his spouse move today. But he had already reached out to me a few days ago and said, hey, you gotta record the podcast. It's okay if you don't come help us move. I always try to help, of course, whenever someone's moving or, needing to get some heavy lifting done. I did help them move into their place that they are moving from this time around, if that makes any sense. And so I wanted to keep the tradition going, but right now they are moving into their new place, which I am so excited for them. I'm so excited to see their place. I am here in my office recording with the number one four-legged podcaster in the nation. What better way to make up for it than to dedicate this episode to him? This man has been in my life for quite a few years. I want to say we met when I was 5, turning 6, first grade era. We have spent numerous classes together throughout our lifetime. And as we grew up, of course, those classes minimized, zeroed out. We stopped having class together. But at the same time, our friendship just continued to grow and sprout into playing video games and basketball to playing video games and basketball 23 years later. And it's also his birthday today. So happy birthday to you, sir. I've already said happy birthday to you this morning, and then I posted about you in the afternoon. Again, I feel bad about not being able to help you guys move. So this episode is dedicated to my best friend, Kaind Richard Pitney. He is on Instagram as Kai Pitney. He's actually in the process of training for a marathon, his second marathon, mind you. He's been training for it the past few months. I believe it is in May or June, so he's going to be training a few more months. And just watching this guy live life, dedicated to his craft, dedicated to his body, his mind, and his soul, you can't help but feel motivated, maybe a little intimidated, because his work ethic is extreme. His role model, one of his role models, is Kobe Bean Bryant, so that makes sense. But I just have so many great things to say about this man, and so why not say them to a phone while I'm supposed to help them move as a I am sorry and a thank you for being my boy throughout the past 23 or so years. Kai, putting you on blast this one. This one is for you. You are a big reason as to why I am doing this in the first place, these whole podcast episodes. And so you are going to get an episode starting in 3, 2, 1. Yes, Scarlett, that is a great way to transition over to the actual bulk of what we're going to be talking about today. As I spoke about my father, as I spoke about my wife, Jen, same dealio. I have some notes here. I have some ideas. I have fairly chronologically ordered a list of things from elementary school, middle school, high school, college, post-college to today. So I'm just going to give you guys a brief overview of the past 23 years of my life with a guy who, again, has impacted me so much throughout the years. What better place to start than elementary school, specifically Mabel Payne Elementary. And so you talk about elementary school, I mean, how many memories can you have when it comes to that? I mean, you probably remember certain moments. Of course, you remember when you would go out to recess, and if you were, kind of a sporty person, as I and Kai were and are, you would remember when you got to recess and none of the balls were out, soccer balls, footballs, basketballs, the bouncy red balls. Someone would have to come and bring the balls out, throw them out to the crowd, and obviously that was like seeing your favorite musician for the first time and you have front row seats. It's like, oh my goodness, pass me the ball. Kai and I, again, very sporty people. Basketball, of course. I was never a big tetherball man. I think he was a tetherball man. And then kickball. Now, this isn't your normal game of kickball. This is a game that me and I believe my buddy from kindergarten created. And the more I talk about it, the more memories come to my head. And so we would play like on a basketball court, and we would have two teams, one on each side. You'd have to kick the ball up to the other side, and then someone would have to catch it. And I think that meant you're out. I don't know, we were 6 or 7. But I know sports was always a big part of our life. I also know that Mad Minutes was a big part of our life as well. Mad Minutes was something that he and I were both very good at. I remember them because I enjoyed them. I would assume he felt the same way, only because it really just pinpointed a lot of who we are as people. And so for those of you who aren't aware of what Mad Minutes are/were, they are pretty much a sheet of paper, maybe like a half sheet of paper, and it's going to have a bunch of different math problems. Fairly simple. Again, we're in first, second grade, and so there would be like 20, 30 problems on this piece of paper, and you'd have to answer as many as possible in, I want to assume, a minute, 2 minute maybe. I remember those very well. I think I was really good at them. I don't know for certain. I don't know my scores at the time. Didn't keep my records, my bad. But I know that was something that really pinpointed not only our abilities, because him and I were both great at math, but the competition aspect of things. That competitive edge really stuck with the both of us when it came to sports, when it came to school. We always felt the need to compete. And this trait of ours really continued on throughout our lives. Outside of school, I actually have a story because I remember this, and it's the first time that his parents and my parents had met. I can't remember. I think it was our moms who had met. We were at the Yorba car wash, and I believe he and his mother were sitting on the side waiting for their car to come out, and we were walking in to see where our car was going to be when the wash was completed. Lo and behold, there's Kai and his mother. We introduced each other. I don't remember the rest of how that went down, but that was the first time I had seen him and his family outside of school. And I don't know when exactly that was, but it was a moment that I remember in time, so I'm bringing it up. But then you have the actual first time that we hung out. I think our parents started talking, and they were like, okay, you know what, let's get these cats together. Let's see what they can do. I believe I had gone to your house first. I had gone to his house first. We played Spyro. Pretty sure for the duration of the hangout. I think I was there for like a few hours after school, and all we did was play Spyro on the PS2. Great game. I don't know if you guys know Spyro. It's a little purple dragon. He runs around. He headbutts people. He breathes fire. What more can a 7-8-year-old boy want in life? Video games, dragons, yes, please. And the first time he came to my house is actually a funny story because he and I both brought up this moment during our speeches for each other, because he and I were each other's best men at each other's weddings in 2023. He remembers it as my mother gave him a Diet Cherry Vanilla Dr. Pepper the first time he came over. I remember it as we don't steal. Scarlett, stealing is wrong. Thank you for understanding. Stealing is wrong. Good girl. We just happened to be very thirsty at the time. And so we took the entire 12-pack of Diet Cherry Vanilla Dr. Pepper, and as my mom got out of the car, I put it in my backpack, and we walked around the side of the house and hid behind some trees. And I think him and I each chugged one, and then we brought him back inside. That was all we could do. Felt rebellious, though. I mean, I think the goal was to drink all of them. Reality really smacked us in the face there. And so since those times, you know, we shared a lot of interests. Of course, SpongeBob was a huge pillar in both of our childhoods. And believe it or not, a lot of the intellectual sounding words that I conjure up in my daily life are actually from SpongeBob. You guys want to up your vocabulary? Give it a few episodes. You'll learn something, I swear. I think in general, a lot of Nickelodeon shows really caught our attention because Fairly Odd Parents, I knew, came up a lot in our lives, as well as Jimmy Neutron, Jimbles Neutrumbo, Sheen, Carl, classic trio. Hugh Neutron? Come on, guys. Get with the program. Yeah, I recall, you know, watching those shows. We would have DVDs for those shows. Whenever I went to the library, I didn't get books. I think he actually got books, but I would get television shows on VHS and DVD. Just my thing. I don't know. Really into cartoons. They still do them, but back in the day, they used to do like Nicktoons Unite video games where you would play as different Nicktoons, Danny Phantom, Timmy Turner, Cosmo, Wanda, SpongeBob Patrick, and you would like fight robots and race each other, and it's a really swell time. Pretty sure for a moment we had all of the SpongeBob games you could think of on GameCube specifically. We were big GameCube people back in the day. I want to say there was one point where we didn't know that you could trade in your games for money at GameStop or like EB Games or something like that. We didn't know. So I believe between the both of us, we ended up counting how many games we had at one point in our childhood. And I believe we had up to like 50 different games for GameCube. And one day we just went crazy and we turned them all in. I can't remember what we got, but there was a moment where we were just like flourishing in the small GameCube disc department. And so going off of that tangent regarding video games, I can't help but also mention his family. His mom, dad, and sister, always so inviting, always so welcoming. Even nowadays, they are family to me. And I feel the same from them as well. I do feel like a member of their family, and I know they feel like I'm a member of their family because they were just so welcoming all the time. And, you know, we pretty much grew up together, Kaind I, so they have seen us through thick and thin throughout our lives. And I owe them a ton of gratitude and appreciation because whether they know it or not, they helped mold me to be who I am today. So definitely appreciate the Pitney fam in general. And so when you talk about Kai's house, playing Spyro, playing video games, playing sports, you can't help but bring up Kai's basketball court. It was so cool. I can't remember when exactly they made it because their backyard, I believe, was dirt for a while, and then they had the option between a pool or a basketball court, and I think Kai chose a basketball court, which for our childhood, I thought was such an amazing decision, because that basketball court really became a safe haven for myself. And I couldn't think Kai would think the same way, because it would be a place that we can let off steam. We could practice, we could be competitive, we can do trick shots. And then there's also those times where, maybe life is a little tough. You're thinking about things that you just kind of want to get out of your system or vent. And, while you're kind of just doing something that you enjoy, it kind of allows you to just kind of talk. And, if you're in sync, you'll shoot the shot, get the rebound, pass the ball, and then you kind of just go in that motion. And as you're going in that motion of mindless physical activity, your brain can just kind of speak and release any of the tension and any of the woes that you might be going through. And to me, that basketball court really allowed me to just kind of let loose a lot of the times, especially when we'd be out there at night and it'd be cold and we'd be shooting around and we would just be, imagining life in the future and thinking about our problems and just going over just the most outlandish scenarios. We would talk about aliens and girls and school and sports, and then we'd get into those just guy times where someone's hopping a fence to get the basketball, or doing some crazy stuff with a shoe and trying to see how high they can kick it off their foot, and it goes over the fence and someone's got to go retrieve it. It was just a place where we could just kind of be dudes, guys being dudes. And so that basketball court really took us from elementary school on to middle school, of course. Like I had said earlier, Kai and I had 1st through 5th grade all the same teachers. 6th grade comes around, we don't have a class together. Now, a lot of you may be thinking, how could you two be separated like this? I was so invested in the story, and now it's like you guys are on different planets. You're like 11 years old and you don't have the same class as your biffle. Terrifying. Scarlett, I didn't know you felt that way. Thank you for your concern. But we actually did better than you might think. He and I, in our own ways, we're very personable people. He doesn't feel that he's as talkative as I am, and maybe to an extent he's right. But in terms of making friends, building friendships, he was able to do that easily, no problem. Even if he didn't have to speak, you just had to do the finger guns, and all of a sudden, people be flocking. But he and I went through middle school with very minimal classes. I believe we had Spanish together in 7th grade, 8th grade, I can't remember either. But that really also showed us that we also didn't need to have the same classes or be around each other all the time to keep our friendship. And I say that because there was a point in time where he and I actually counted how many days in a row we saw each other. Whether it was just like a hi and bye, actually hanging out, me going to his house, him going to my house, we actually had moments where it's like we made an effort to just see each other, maybe for like a second or just like a wave or something. Like, I gotta go see this dude, we gotta keep the streak alive. There'd be times where it's like, okay, I'm gonna see him, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then we're going to hang out Saturday night, spend the night, leave Sunday morning, and then Monday through Friday we're going to see each other at school again for, break or lunch or whatever. And I think we went a good 50, 60 days with seeing each other every single day. I don't know if you have a different number, but that's from what I remember. That sounds about right. Honestly, my first thought was in the hundreds, but I feel like that's a little extreme. Staring contests. I would be able to beat any person at a staring contest but Kai. I don't know what it was. I don't know if he just knew what made me tick, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. He always made, these fancy grins or whatever, and, I don't know why, but he was always the man to beat me in staring contests in middle school. And so middle school also brought about a time where, we were getting kind of older. Our parents were allowing us to, do a little more. Our bedtimes were going up a little bit later. We were able to, go to the gas station right next to my house and get some things and kind of, not sneak our way throughout the house, but we were getting a little smarter at that age. And there was actually one evening where he and I, the first time we ever stayed up all night, and it was with him and my brother and my brother's friend. My brother and I shared a room at the time, and we stayed up all night playing Super Mario Strikers. One of the most memorable evenings of my life. And I remember there was moments where we were just like lights are on but no one's home type of deal, where I think we were maybe getting to 3-4 a.m. and someone would be laying on the bed on the wall trying to keep themselves up, but their eyes were open, but they were just slumping, about to go down. And we would get them up, come on, you guys got to do this, we got to do this. At 6 in the morning, right at sunrise, we walked over and we got some Hostess donuts from the gas station next to my house, and we ate them outside in front of my house, and it was we made it. It was like Thanos after he snapped his finger. Everything was right in the world because we stayed up all night playing Super Mario Strikers and got donuts in the morning. It was a momentous occasion. And I think it also really showed our determination and mindset to, if we want to do something, we're going to get it done, and we're going to do our best to get it done. And that's where you have, those days in a row where we kept seeing each other. Doesn't matter if, we have different classes or, different schedules, whatever, we're going to make an effort to see each other every day. We're going to make it happen. And then you have, staying up all night. It's as tired as we were, it was something that we had decided that we are going to do, and we did it. You transitioned that to high school. We were both able to go to Yorba Linda High School. Initially, we were supposed to go to El Dorado, but Yorba Linda High School had recently opened, and there was a bid, or you had to live in some section of the city to be able to go to one school or the other. He and I were both very lucky to both go to Yorba Linda High School. Kai, in terms of sports, he was a big soccer man, fairly big baseball man. I know he played for a few years. As you know, I was football and basketball for the most part. And so throughout elementary school, I was actually one of the tallest people in our elementary school. Believe it or not, people who know me now, surprising, yes, I was tall. And then I think it was 7th grade, specifically, the beginning of 7th grade, Kai and a bunch of people just started getting growth spurts, almost like puberty or something. And all of a sudden, he's 4 or 5 inches taller than me out of nowhere. And so his athleticism became more of a long person who's able to jump and run fast. I was still that bulky, average height who is strong. I was always a lineman in football, so defensive, offensive. I was that big, bulky dude in the trenches, pushing people around, blocking people around, and he was always the runner. He was the soccer player. He was the goal scorer. I don't know the name in soccer, mid or forward. I think it was a forward. And so he ended up started growing tall, lengthy, perfect wide receiver for football. And so he had never played football, and freshman year of high school decided to give it a shot. Him and my other buddy, Ed, who I've known since elementary school as well, he also got into football. And so I was very excited to have the both of them playing on the same team as I was. I do recall there was a moment where we actually played El Dorado, the school we were supposed to go to, for high school. Kai was always on a different team than I was. I think there was an A team and a B team, and I was always on the A team. Obviously, I played for 9-10 years at the time. I had known how to play the sport. Kai's just getting his Kai's like a newborn deer. Tall, long legs, doesn't know how to use them yet. I'm sorry I'm saying that, but you caught on very quickly. And so we were playing El Dorado. I was playing that game. I believe we were playing there at El Dorado. And I was just, I knew people on that team. I was supposed to play on that team. So I was just running around like a madhouse. I was having so much fun. It was one of the most fun games I'd ever played in. And one of those plays that I got to be a part of was Kai's, I believe, first receiving touchdown against El Dorado. I remember that moment so happy for my guy. Like, it was so cool to have my buddy succeed with me on the field. Like, we were succeeding together out there. Like, I was doing my thing, he did his thing, and it was so cool. It was one of the best moments of my high school career, my football career. Probably will remember it forever. Playing football with him, playing football with Ed. A lot of my friends that I'm very close to nowadays were also on those teams. It was just a very fun year, that freshman year of football, and sophomore year was also fun as well. I had eventually gotten hurt. My ankle was sprained, and I went to the doctor, and they told me I'm not growing anymore. Very upsetting time in my life, but in my head, I was just, the practical person in me was like, okay, if I'm not growing anymore, I'm 5'7" 3/4 on a bad day. I don't see myself playing as an offensive lineman at the University of Miami in a few years. My coach hated me for it, but I went into his office one morning, and after my sophomore year of football, I had resigned. I said I retired because I had played for 10, 12 years. I think I had tenure. I was good to retire at that age. But right before that, I believe Kai and my buddy Ed, our little core, Eric, had also retired as well. That off-season, that summer, was my first summer in 12 years that I didn't have to play football, because I started playing football when I was 4. That summer, Kai's family had invited me to Hawaii for a couple weeks. And wow, to go from having to play football in Southern California, 100-degree weather every day, to Hawaii by the beach, resort style. You got the luau's, you had all the fun, all the vibes, the carefree mentality. I remember one time his sister, and his sister's friend were on the beach, I believe. And it was nighttime. We were just like talking, just vibing out. And we were mentioning how much it would suck because what is known as Hell Week, I believe, was starting that week or the next day. And Hell Week is 2 practices a day for an entire week. And we thought it was so great how instead of doing Hell Week, we were chilling on the beach. What a time that was. That was really such a great experience for me because it made me feel like, you play football for so long, and at that time, when you're 16, 17, obviously everything in your life is like enhanced tenfold. So whenever something happens, you think your life is over, or how will you proceed if, this happens? But to go from leaving something that I had put so much of my life into. And when I did this, I talked to my mom. I let her know, hey, I'm going to keep working out. I'm going to keep staying fit. I'm going to keep my grades up. And I'm going to find something that I want to do. And that vacation, that 2-week vacation, really allowed me to kind of decompress and just enjoy life outside of football for the first time in a very long time. I was very, very grateful for that trip. He and I had gone on many trips throughout the years. We went to SeaWorld once upon a time. I know he makes fun of me because of Zathura. The movie Zathura was playing in the car, and the robot in Zathura just like smashed through a wall. Like, who does that? That's not practical. That doesn't make sense. And I may have, given a little shriek in the car on the way to SeaWorld, but that's not here nor there. Don't laugh, Scarlett. But we were just there for each other. Whether we knew it or not, the company of one for the other was just very therapeutic. And that continued on through high school, college. Life was changing. We didn't have a set path anymore. And him and I know we both kind of appreciated having structure and doing things that you were supposed to do. But once you get out of high school, you can do whatever you want. Now, the obligation is to go to college. My mind said I'm going to college. That was never a second doubt. But then what am I doing in college? What classes am I going to take? What is my major? What's my emphasis? This and that. And I know he and I, granted, I was always a broadcast journalism major, but it was always like, okay, well, where am I going after community college? Him and I both went to San Diego, and that was just a time for us to really figure ourselves out. I think it was a time for everyone to figure themselves out, especially when you're going to community college. You're not going straight to a university or a Cal State to major in something. You're going to community college for a few years. You might have a major, but you don't know for certain. A lot of those moments, him and I would hang out. We would hang out in my grandma's backyard. We would play pool. We would just chill out, just vent on our days and our classes and, what's ahead of us. And I stopped using this saying a while ago, but I remember a lot of the times when we would hang out and we would just talk about, this is happening, or when I was going to college, or when we worked at Joaquin's for a couple years and Kai had met his spouse there. We all worked together. Just life was just happening all around us. And honestly, it was happening so fast, and we were becoming our own people. For him and I to have each other and just have that person that just knew you in a way that a lot of people didn't. In today's world, if you look at he and I as separate people on paper, I don't know if you would assume that we're Biffles fam, but as different as he and I are, I think a lot of things that we hold dear to us and our basic communication skills, the way we talk, are very similar. College was just that time for us to figure out ourselves. And again, having each other for any sort of issue that was going on, I don't know if I want to do this with my life. Well, I feel you, dude. Let me hear it. What are your thoughts? What are your plans? Like, what are you thinking that you like to do? And we were just doing that for each other. Throughout college, even when I moved up to San Francisco and started doing my thing, started spreading my wings, a lot of times I would reach out to him for the deep stuff, with possibly moving down or what to do after college. When I had met my soon-to-be wife, Jen, we each had gone through different things that allowed us to take the knowledge from the other and use it moving forward. I think him and I are both very similar in the way that it doesn't matter how you get a step up. If you feel it's right, use it. I don't believe that I am someone that just was sprouted this way. I'm a person who is born of the people around me. Every day I get better because of what someone said or what someone did that I said, okay, I want to do that too. The way I see him listening to podcasts nowadays, looking things up online, if he wants to have a conversation with you, he is going to talk to you and listen to every single word that you're saying. And he's going to come out with a response and a question that might sound very literal, but he is just so focused on what you are saying. He just wants to make sure that his mind reads it correctly. You know, speaking of college, he was the first friend to visit me with his spouse when I had just moved up there, and those first few months were very rough for me. You know, they came up and they visited, and we hung out, and we saw the sights of San Francisco, and it was a really great experience for me because prior to then, I had never been away by myself for any reason. And when my spouse and I ended up moving back home to Southern California, you know, you have COVID and everything going on. That first year, it was my birthday in May, and COVID was happening, and him and his spouse show up with a breakfast burrito with their masks on, and we kept our distance, and they put the burrito down, and I grabbed it, and it was such a nice surprise. And, you know, he's always been there for those sorts of things, those things where it's like, you know, I'm stuck at home, working from home for the first time in my life. I hadn't even gotten Scarlett yet. I had gotten her 3-4 days later, so I was working from home in this place that I felt trapped in and that I couldn't get anywhere. It took a toll mentally on me for a while. And to have them come visit was so helpful. And I don't know if you can hear this in the way I talk about this man. I look up to him in so many different aspects of life. When I tell you guys that there's a voice in my head that I combat the me and the possibly me, one of the voices that I hear is his. One of the perspectives that I hear is his. One of those is Jen, one of those is my parents, of course, etc. But he's one of those people where if I'm in a situation, it's what would Kai do in this situation? How would he handle this situation mentally? What would he feel is the best way to overcome this situation? Since moving back home, he asked me to be his best man. Very, very amazing experience. Very grateful for that experience. So I asked him to be my best man as well because it just made sense. He is actually one of the main people that, even though Jen put me in a setting where I was able to do the podcast, Kai is the one who kept sending me videos and reels, you know, how to start a podcast. Oh, you want to start a podcast? This is how you do it. Every now and then, he would keep the seed in my head growing to just do it. And he was actually the first person I sent my first episode to. And he said, you know, this is great, man. Just keep going, keep being consistent. You're going to get great at it. I need to record these episodes. I need to get them done. I need to keep putting them out. I don't plan on stopping. I don't plan on having seasons where I'm going to take a break. My goal is to just go. And that's the way he does his life as well. I mean, you look at this guy's resume from the past couple years. He completed a triathlon even though he didn't feel comfortable swimming and biking in those portions of it. He went to classes, he trained himself, and he did the triathlon. The 75 hard is something where you go 75 days, you gotta diet, you gotta drink a bunch of water a day, no cheat meals, you gotta read every day, you gotta exercise twice a day. He's done that like 2 or 3 times now. Like I said before, he's on his second marathon at the moment. Plans out his meals, plans out his workouts. He spends his off time trying to better himself. Now, you look at this man, you hear what I'm saying about this man, and you're like, wow, this guy's a freaking monster. He's a machine. And I'm not telling you to be like this man, but the way this man lives his life, he lives a life that he is proud of. And that's what I get from everything that I just said. I'm not saying to, you know, I envy what he does throughout his life and I wish I did it. You know, that they sound cool, but they're not things that are for me. But the passion, the intensity, the commitment, the drive, those are the things that I take from him and that I incorporate into my everyday life. And so when I tell you guys he's the machine, he's this and that, I'm the go with the flow guy. Let's play video games. Let's just have fun, you know, let's drink some beers, play some beer pong. If you guys know the duo that is Kai and Vinny, you know two things. We're going to compete, and we have a great chance of beating you. No matter what it is, our dynamic, second to none. Stop us. I feel like there's so much more I can say about this man. Kai, happy birthday, man. Thank you for everything that you have given me in this life. Thank you for all the support, all the love. I apologize that I am not helping you move at the moment, but I hope you enjoyed this episode as a thank you and an my bad. Scarlett, you got anything to say? Well said, Scarlett. Very deep, very humbling. Couldn't have said it better myself. So guys, with that being said, thank you very much for listening. Kai, for listening to this. I know you're listening to this. Thank you for everything, man. I hope you enjoy this episode. I want you all to have some great drinks, eat some great food, be around great company, enjoy your friends, feel love, be love, continue to live a life worth loving. I feel like a tongue twister. Take care.